What's up, everybody? On a podcast now. I'm Alex, and this week I want to talk about how important multiplayer will be in the new Batman game. So this is another discussion video on the game. Wanted to bring it back to a discussion, and then we'll have another speculation later in the week. Definitely want to keep this back and forth. And this is something I've wanted to talk about. I sometimes write down ideas I have of this game, and I sometimes forget that I did it, or I forget that I have these ideas. And multiplayer is one that I wanted to revisit. I've made, in my career here, of like the 9-10 months I've covered Batman, I've talked about multiplayer twice. One time was an insider, and again, I mean, you got to take all these with a grain of salt, but there was a leak that said that there would be multiplayer in the game. Now, I believe that multiplayer was like an online multiplayer, like how the online, when it's like one side versus another in Origins, it was that. Obviously, we also know that it seems like co-op, and I guess if you want to call it co-op multiplayer, seems to also be a big part of this game. So we have two different aspects to talk about how important multiplayer would be. And one thing I want to throw in there as like a brand new thing is I was reading somewhere online a few days ago of, I think there was like a survey done of these games, completely like anonymous, and there's a report that a lot of games are going to be cutting features to make sure that they don't get delayed past 2020. So games that are still planning on releasing this year because of what's gone on around the world, they still want to do that. In order to do that, some of them are going to actually be cutting out features. Like some of them may be quests. I did see quests, so like if it's an open world game, maybe they're going to take like a whole quest line out of the game. Very, very interesting thing about, does that affect Batman in any way? I can talk about that more in the future if you guys want me to, but I do want to use it for the multiplayer in that it could actually impact the multiplayer. What if the multiplayer just gets cut entirely from Batman as well? Something to think about as we go through the rest of this video for sure. Now, I've talked about it before. I have I think, different opinions on the multiplayer versus a lot of other people. I get it. I get your guys' desire for multiplayer. I think that there is something to it. I think that it is very exciting to be able to play with other people online. And look, for what it's worth, and to be, again, like upfront and honest with you guys, I think as this channel has grown, as you guys have continued to support these videos and just be the greatest, really, and really also the potential of when the game does get announced and, okay, how many, new people do we get to bring into the community here on other channels as well, but, like how many more can we add? The potential for like an online thing for this game really excites me from a personal standpoint, right? Being able to play with you guys is an awesome thing, and I try to do it as often as I can on the channel, and I want to do more of it. And with Batman, I mean, I think it holds even more significance that it's like, to be able to, if we get the chance to be able to play with each other, I think that's pretty darn cool, right? It's just something that I never really thought of when it came to the channel, like what this channel could actually do for me and allow for us to do, but now it really could happen, right? I want to do an Arkham Origins multiplayer event. I talked about that in live streams before. Once this game does get announced, the new game, I do want to have like a multiplayer thing. I'd love to collaborate with other people, Degenerate J, other Arkham people, even people I've been critical of. I'd love to throw like an Arkham, multiplayer event. I'm planning on doing it, depending how big it'll be. How big it'll be, that'll depend. But I definitely want to do it. So that's something to look forward to. But like that, just thinking about that for the Origins multiplayer makes me very excited about what a multiplayer could be here. Now, again, it gets split. And there's pros and cons to both. Okay, the multiplayer, the one side versus the other, right? The Arkham Origins multiplayer. Do I think it's all that necessary to have that in the game? No, I don't think it's necessary to have an Origins. I think it was a feature that was quickly pushed aside. Does it have like a cult following now? Yes, it absolutely does. Okay, people liked it back then. People like it now. It's a fun thing, right? You see like Nightwing do it quite often, right? Degenerate J's done it. You see them do it because it's just a fun thing we get to play with the community, right? It's got its pros in like this internet age, and as we've gotten close, just the whole event that this new Batman game is being, it kind of has taken a new like wave, the Arkham Origins multiplayer. So like I get it, it's got different functions, but for what it is it like the greatest thing in the world? No, it really isn't. But it did exist. Now again, the rumor is that this game is going to have it as well. So would I like that? Again, I don't think it's necessary. If you go down like a checklist of like what you need to keep in the game, I don't think that's on that checklist. I don't think it's like the pressing issue. Another thing is the multiplayer was done by a different studio. They were helping Warner Bros. Montreal. They made the multiplayer. I believe they're doing something else. I don't think they're doing the multiplayer for this new game, if it's even being done. Would be interesting to know if Warner Bros. Montreal was doing it internally or if they're working with somebody else to do the multiplayer. But again, is that something that kind of gets cut? Is that something that maybe was in the game and now isn't? Again, something to think about. Again, would I like it? I guess. I think, again, from like a community perspective, from playing with you guys, and my opinions have changed. It's okay, by the way, to change opinions, and I haven't really changed my opinion on it all that much. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think like we need it, but I'll take it. Like, I want it to be. And by the way, the fact that we are taking it means, okay, this needs to be good. And the thing that always worries me with the multiplayer is that there's too much put into it that would take away from the base game. But I'll move on from that, because I don't think, again, like the factions, like one side versus the other, I don't think that mode is going to affect the main Batman game. Again, it could very well just be done from another studio. Even if it's done internally at Warner Bros. Montreal, it would be done by a different group of people that are working on the base game, right? Even Naughty Dog, they literally have assembled a small team to make the Last of Us Part 2's multiplayer mode, because it's basically going to be its own game. So it's not like it's Neil Druckmann and the writers and all those people that are making the actual game. It's not like they're also making the multiplayer and they're stretched out too thin. So I understand that. I understand that that multiplayer mode wouldn't take away from the base game. And ultimately, based off what I've said before, just to stick with it, to not kind of flip-flop, I would be fine with it under that case. Doesn't mean I can't be critical of it also when it comes out. And I think it would be fun, again, to play with you guys. I think it'd be a blast. Do I think it's... And how important it'll be to the game? I feel like it'll probably still feel like an afterthought for the most part, and it's only because of the second aspect, of the actual co-op. Now, this is a lot trickier. This is a lot. It's more fundamentally where I disagree with it, and I think, again, this is where the split comes between you guys and me, and it's fine. Honestly, it's a cool thing where I think for the most part we agree on a lot, almost everything when it comes to this new Batman game, and when it comes to what we want from it and the pros and the con, and being able to be critical. I think we agree on like 95, 99% of things, like somewhere in that range. This co-op thing, I think, is where we disagree, because I know a lot of people want it, and I guess, again, it depends on how it's done. Now, this one has a direct correlation, I think, to the game itself. Will the co-op hurt the actual game? It has potential to. Will it? I don't know. Ultimately, nobody knows, right? But when it comes to my opinion on it, that I don't want it to take away from the base game, I don't think, again, like the factions multiplayer could do that. I think the co-op in the game could. Now, again, is it awesome to be able to play as different members of the Bat family with the community? You guys get to play with your friends. Is it couch co-op? Can you play it with like a loved one? You know, whatever. Like, yeah, that's awesome, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But again, will it impact the actual game? And will it be done right? How much are you going to be able to do that? Are people going to be willing, by the way, if it is a co-op kind of a thing here, will it be the whole game, or is it just certain sections, in which case, isn't that kind of annoying that you can only play with somebody else for a very limited time, only when the game lets you? At the same time, I know a lot of people have thrown out like an open world kind of mode where you can play like split screen co-op or whatever, where you're both in the world. Is that in the game? Is that a separate feature, like in the main menu? You can play like the story mode, and there's also like free roam mode, and that's when you can do it. Is it that? Can they even handle, by the way, can Warner Bros. Montreal even handle something like that? Again, those are all questions to discuss. In terms of how important it would be to the game, I think it'd be very important. I think if you come out in this game and you say, okay, you're going to play as the members of the Bat family, but not only that, not only like are you playing as Batman 70% of the time, and the rest of the members however much, which, by the way, that alone will either make people happy or angry, because some people only want to play as Batman, some people only want to play as the Bat family, and some people don't really know what percentage they want to play as both, right? And that is going to like mess with people for sure. So you come out with that firstly, and then secondly you say, okay, and there's split screen co-op, or there's co-op in general where you can play online, or with a person next to you, and you can play certain sections of the single player, you can play all of it. I'll tell you this, I really don't think it's all the game, because although if it's not called Arkham whatever, I don't think a Batman game in the Arkham kind of feel, which we know it is going to feel a lot like Arkham, it's not going to work. You're not going to be able to play the whole game cooperatively. Otherwise, it's literally a different game. It's a completely different kind of superhero game than what we're used to. And yeah, there's a boldness there, and that could be a positive, and people may like that. I get that. I understand that. At the same time, I just don't flat out, my own opinion, I could be wrong, but my own opinion is that's just not what they're shooting for, that they're going to play it safe in some places, and I think that is one of them, that they're going to maybe pick and choose where they want to do cooperative play. Again, it's tough because, like, are they going to have it at all? I know it was a rumor, but as it goes on and on, would it be enough for people to just say, well, you can play as the multiple members of the Bat family, but you can't play it cooperatively? And why? Well, we were working on Suicide Squad. We have that. Oh, but Rocksteady's game, that's a cooperative game. So if you want your co-op game, you can play their Justice League or their Suicide Squad game. Like, is that how it's going to be marketed? Is that how it's going to kind of, not even marketed, but is that how it's going to kind of like feel like, where it's like, well, the people that want to play the whole single player with somebody else, that's not our game. That's Rocksteady's game, actually, so go enjoy that. Again, very, very interesting to think about what it's actually going to be. The possibilities are endless. When you think about what they could actually end up showing us, it'll be really interesting, right? Because I don't think we would get that amount of details in the initial reveal. If they do like a gameplay presentation afterwards, I think it would come out at some point that, hey, there is a multiplayer mode, and hey, there is going to be a cooperative play. The one thing that could be talked about kind of initially in a synopsis, or maybe not necessarily a trailer, but like in that first wave of info in the game, is that yes, you will be playing as other members of the Bat family. I could totally see that in like a description of the game, is like play as Batman as well as the Bat family, right? Robin, who list your members, right? I think that could very well appear first, and you'll hear about that first. The rest of the things I think could very well come out after, but it's going to be really, really interesting to monitor. All of the co-op multiplayer aspects of this game have potential, have me excited for a lot of reasons, but also have me very, very worried for a lot of other reasons, and I think it's totally fair to have those criticisms or to be worried about this game, but ultimately, again, it's just speculation. I mean, these are all going off of what's happened before, what's been canceled, what we have heard through leaks, but those leaks are almost a year old at this point, and if the game has gone through any kind of like shuffling, those features could have been dropped. We don't know. Ultimately, we don't know, but as I've said in all these videos, we're getting closer and closer. We could be getting the announcement next month. We could be getting the announcement in June. I think, again, as I've said, June is that latest point, so within the next 2 months, we're going to know a lot of things that you're going to look back at these videos of me, of Slickmoff, of Degenerate J, all these things, and you're going to say, oh man, they were right on this, or they were wrong on this, or they were going in the right direction with this. It's going to be really, really cool, and we're going to be able to do that, honestly, in just a couple months. So guys, let me know in the comments below, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on multiplayer? What are your thoughts on co-op? How important do you think they'll be in the game? Do you want them? All of those things, let me know. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel, Podcast Now. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when all these videos go up, and as always, guys, you've done such an amazing job supporting this channel. Let me know if there's any other videos, specific kinds of videos you want me to make. I'll be going back and forth between discussion and speculation until we obviously get something breaking about this game, and then we'll be covering it obviously on this channel as well as my second channel, okay? Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all on the next video.